Hey there, it is Val, and this is Check In to Val or Check In with Val, because I'm Val. This is episode 103. And during the last episode, we're still talking about chapter one of A Journey Through Grief, going through that year first, as you all know. So if you've been watching, you know that this channel is really dedicated to doing a first series on grief and getting through grief. You don't really get over it, especially if it's someone you love so deeply. And in the previous episodes, I've been talking about my husband and sharing that one of the ways that I have been getting through my year of first is going all the way back to the beginning and talking about the origin story. I am working on my first ebook, and it is called, I'm going to try to move my head, A Journey Through Grief, the Year of First. Okay. And it is something that I decided to do because I was trying to figure myself out and trying to, I'm going to be honest with you, this is definitely not scripted. I was trying to get out the pits of hell of grief. The type of grief where you do not get out of bed. You do not want to do anything, and time stands completely still. Now, just a quick background, because if you've been watching the episodes, which I hope you have, or listening to them, you all, you don't have to watch. I'm just the talking head. So you go about your business, listen to me. It's meant to be an podcast, more so for audio. But other than getting out of bed to feed my four dogs, there were times, and I'm going to still say there are times when I just feel immobile, can't do anything. But back near the first couple of months, I was sometimes so immobile that days would pass. Now, I would get out and rotely do things, but I have no recollection of it. I know that I would get up at 6 a.m. every day and get the dogs out the door, let them go to the washroom, feed the dogs, grocery shop, work on my business. I know that I would do these things, but by the time night fell, I truly had no recollection of it, and time seemed to stand still, and nothing really was being done. I still sometimes, I'm going to be honest, I still sometimes have those days. But one thing I found was that in doing some of my exercises, it was helping me to get through those days so that I had less of those days than more of those days, as in the beginning. And so we're in chapter one of my draft ebook, and it's called The Beginning of Us and How We Met. And on episode 102, I kind of shared the crazy story of how my husband and I realized that we met maybe 12 years prior to us going on our first date, which we met the official time through a match.com or through match.com, the service. And on that first initial date of match.com, we realized that we met each other 12 years earlier, and it wasn't such a pleasant experience. So we did have a really interesting conversation that first date, because we realized we had the same story, yet slightly different. And the reason why I shared that story with you all is because it's a story that always made me laugh, made my husband laugh, because we would look forward to someone asking us about how we met. And that was usually the first story we went to. But this is part two. So this is the second part. And this is really only from my perspective. And I was looking at the activity, and I'm going to try to share it with you in my ebook that I was focusing on. It made me think about this part of the story. And I'm just going to kind of share this with you, and I have to bring it up myself so I can see it myself. So in the activity part of the book, of chapter one and in all the chapters. And I'm sorry if it looks like I'm struggling with someone. It's my dog, you all. If you all have been watching, you know I have 4 dogs. And this one, every time, every single time that I come on with you all, my dog must, I guess he's not used to me talking to anyone anymore in the house. And he was really Roscoe's buddy. And so anytime he hears me talking, and he's like, who are you talking to if you're not talking to my daddy? So he sometimes just comes in, and I decided I'm just going to be authentic and be in my present state, whether I have on makeup, whether I don't, whether I have on a t-shirt, whether I have on just something else that's maybe more professional, whatever. I'm just going with the flow. So in the activity is called the Storytelling Journal, and I prefer to tell on video as my way of doing a storytelling of how we met. You're thinking about simple guiding questions, but I also go through some self-care activities like I shared in episode 102, I believe. Um, if you want an alternative activity, you're doing things that are familiar to you that put you in the mood to tell your story. But I went down to this second page because I always have to meditate. My husband was deep into meditation, and he would put on his headphones and he would listen to sounds, not music, because he was a musician. If he heard music, that would put him in some other state. So he would listen to waves and thunder and rain and sounds. And what is that called? I forgot what he would call it, but he was zone. Okay. So I decided to put in, I'm more a person who likes words. Okay. So the words that I came up with dealing with the origin is the foundation of our love endures, because your origin is your foundation story. The beginning holds the key to my healing, and love's first light still guides me forward. Now, I'm not sure if you can see this on the screen well, so I'm going to make it a little bigger if you cannot. If you cannot see it, hopefully you can. Um, and as I was thinking about that, another story came into my head. And I'm not sure if it was the second one, the beginning holds the key to my healing, or love's first light still guides me forward. But I thought about that first date. And like I said, we realized that we had not, that we actually met 12 years earlier and had not had a great time. But I'm going to be honest with you, some people say on that first date, that's when they fell in love and they just knew. Mm-mm. On our first date, I was like, oh, this cannot be the same person that I have been talking to for the last 3 weeks. Like I said, we met on Match.com, and I think we started corresponding and talking on the phone maybe early September. It was not until very late September, and it's funny because I went back on calendars to try to figure out when was the Friday we met, and guess what Friday it was? Those who know R&B and know a little Earth, Wind, and Fire, it was on the 21st of September. Do you remember? The 21st day of September was the Friday that we met. So, as I said, we met in episode 102 at one of my local bars because I knew that if nothing else, I was going to have a great burger and a mojito. Now, little did I know that this date, for me, I had a second date that night, truth be told. And for him, from what he told me, he was just trying to get the date over with because we had talked for so long. And he was just trying to, like, this was going to be the date where he let me down gently. Like, you know what? I'm on my way to France, because he was on my way to France to do some work. And this is just not a good time, blah, blah, blah. That was his speech in his head. So when I walked through the door, now, because I kind of didn't care. It's not like I mean, it was a bar, but it wasn't like I put on any makeup or I put on anything special. I mean, I had on my cute little jeans because, again, I had a second date later that evening. And I decided I'm going to be Val. I'm not trying to put on any pretense. I'm going to make sure I eat my burger. I drink my mojito. I'm going to have a good time, whether he enjoys it or not. So when I walked in the door, I did notice that his eyes got really bright. And this time I do believe I did look him up and down because I was trying to figure out what the heck, because he did not look like kind of how I imagined. And I guess I didn't look like how he imagined. Now, even though we met on Match.com and we had each other's pictures in both of our minds, we had made up something, I guess, kind of something totally different. He looked like a musician for real. Like he just stepped off the the stage, the earring in the ear. He had a he had a he had a beret on. He loved Paris. Had a beret on. He had on some leather pants and what I always call some moo boots. He had on. They were actually probably, yeah, they were cow boots, and they looked like a cow. And he had on all black. And I mean, it was dapper and all. It was cool, but it was just like, huh? This is too much of a musician. I'm not sure this is who I want to date. He imagined me as a little short, stocky. He knew I was a teacher. At that time, I was an administrator. I was an AP, assistant principal, and he looked at me like, "This is not who I imagined." He would tell that story all the time. I imagined you to be this little short, stocky school teacher with little round glasses because of my voice. Can't help my voice. My voice sounds like a kid. I know. I get it all the time. But anywho, so we're having conversation, and of course, we reminisce about how we originally met. But other than that, that was the highlight of the conversation because dude was not talking to me at all. We sat at the bar. So we were sitting, I remember I was on his right. So I kept looking over the top and I was drinking and eating my burger. And he was hardly talking. Now, all of this time, 2, 3 weeks ahead of time, we're on the phone constantly. There was always conversation. And to my surprise, I wasn't leading the conversation. The Gemini here was not leading the conversation. But that night, other than our reminiscing on how we met and telling our own little versions of our story, zilch, he had nothing to say. So although the date was nice, "Oh, okay, that's nice." I looked at my watch. It's time to get on to my second date. Thank you. It's so nice to finally meet you. All the pleasantries were definitely done. He was the same way. Neither one of us said anything about a second date. It was just like, I'll talk to you a little later. And he was like, well, I want to make sure that you get home safely. Call me when you get home. And I took off. I was in my little two-seater. And he said that I got in the car and went zoom. And to be honest with you, I pulled up for my next second date, and that's when I called, "Oh, I made it home." And he knew this story. I told him years later, of course, after we were married. But we laughed at that as well. And I guess I'm looking at the beginning holds the key, and I'll get rid of this soon. The beginnings hold the key to my future. And I think I really like that because the beginnings was really with me thinking about myself being true to me. So Val being true to Val, Val saying, I'm not going way out for this date. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be who I am, the essence of Val. And I should say this, that my second date, now I told my second date about my first date because I was in that true, pure, I'm just dating people. Nothing is really serious. And I was talking about the date and I was like, oh, he had on these moo boots and he didn't hardly talk to me. And I found out that we knew each other years before and we didn't have a pleasant experience. And he was nothing how he was Okay, guys, he was nothing how he was um on the phone, and I just had a different impression of him. Blah 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 blah. I will say that that guy gave me some very good advice, and he just asked a simple question: "Why are you judging him so fast?" And I was just like, "Well, because I had no good answer. I didn't know why I was judging him so fast. Maybe because in my head I was like, this is I'm sick of Match.com, gotta get off of this mess, blah, 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 blah. But then I started feeling bad because we had all of those really good conversations, and everything was based on conversation. It wasn't based on first meeting. And he said he could have just had an off day. You don't have off days? Maybe he wasn't feeling well, whatever. I'm struggling with my dogs, you all. You know what's going on. And I said, maybe you're right. So the next day, it was either that Saturday or that Sunday. Could have been that Monday. I don't know. I may have let a few days go past. And I called up my future husband and I said, hey, how are you? We did the small talk thing. And I said, you know what? I would like to take you to dinner. And he was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." I was like, "No, no, no. I would like to take you to dinner. You see I like to eat." So I just chose another place that I wanted to go because I decided I wanted some ribs. I wanted those Jack Daniel ribs. So I went to TGI Fridays. And I said, "Hey, meet me at TGI Fridays." It was like maybe a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I just know it was a work day, and we decided just to meet up there. But this time I got to the restaurant first, and I just wanted to give everything a fresh new look because I was tripping out on those leather pants and moo boots. I really was. And this time in walks someone I almost didn't recognize him, someone who's totally different. He had on, I can't tell you what I was wearing, but he had on blue jeans, but with a nice set of shoes, regular shoes, not moo boots. He had on a beige or brown suede like jacket thing happening, and it just looked nice. And he still had his earring on. He didn't have a beret on his head, and I was like, "Oh, this man is kind of handsome." Okay, we eat dinner that night, and the conversation was popping. I mean, we just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. I mean, talked until it was time. It was like the restaurant was like, "Okay, are you all gonna order any more food? Because I know that waitress is like, they better give me a good tip." And just to let you know, he did not let me pay for the meal, even though I was willing to pay for the meal. But I insisted on paying for the tip because I'm just that kind of person. But it was about me not judging that book by its cover and letting them see how these this first date, maybe being the true beginnings, holding the key to my healing. I needed to continue to be me, right? I needed to continue to be me. So, all this to say, we keep these things at about 20 minutes or less, our little talks. All this to say is that when it comes to telling your origin story, remember all of those things, but maybe that memory will come when you're looking at the meditations. Again, the meditations, I'm going to just pull it back up if I can. The meditations, hopefully, yeah, you can see it. The meditations come, and I'll move it over because I'm not sure how it was looking before. The meditations are just things that you can say to yourself. I even put one on a tab that says our first steps together, pave the path to our heart. And like I mentioned, the beginning holds the key to my healing is probably what triggered the thought of that second story of meeting my husband and our origin story. So thank you for tuning in. I never put this down, but I really should make sure that I'm saying that look, I'm new on YouTube. It's been just about a week. It's been a week. So, what you need to do is like, subscribe, give me the thumbs up, share it with people. I will not grow this channel, nor will I be able to do anything as far as lives till I have 1,000 subscribers and over 4,000 watch hours. You all need to do what you do. I'm not one of these youngins where I know how to make all of this technology happen. And I also know that there is an algorithm. Some things get suppressed and some things get pushed forward. If you don't watch and give me a thumbs up, I get suppressed. If you don't subscribe, I get suppressed. And it doesn't cost a thing to subscribe. It just says that, hey, kind of like what you have. I look forward to your next one. So please support me in my effort. Again, I'm trying to build a community where not just I'm sharing my stories, but that you're able to share your stories of your loved one who's passed, because I think it is something when we can listen to each other's stories because it makes us feel good when we, the grieving wives, the grieving mothers, daughters, um, whatever your position is to your loved one, whenever we can share a story that makes us smile inside, it makes everything else lighter, makes the day go by better, and it puts you in that state of happiness, even through grief, right? So please check me out. Please subscribe to me so that you'll also know when the next video will drop. I'm going to try to do at least once a week, but you know what? I may come in. I'm coming in as my need is, but we're still working on chapter 1. And if you're interested in chapter 1 itself, I will make it available so that you can download at least just chapter 1. Again, remember, I'm in draft form, but I don't mind if you see the chapter. I absolutely don't mind at all. Okay, so talk to you soon. Check in with Val. I'm your host. Oh, I put my full name down there, Valerie Marguerite. I am Valerie Marguerite, but I am your host, Val. If you're a friend, you can call me Val. If you're family, you can call me Val, right? If you're a subscriber, you can definitely call me Val. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon, right? Okay, bye, Onyx. Since Onyx, you want to be on, you probably can't see, but just a little bit of him. Say bye, Onyx.